VR is inherently odd. I mean, we strap fancy boxes to our faces and wave our arms around to pretend we're somewhere we're not. So it shouldn't be too surprising that some hardware is just weird. Some weird stuff like eye and face tracking have pretty obvious use cases. Other stuff, not so much. Some of it may even be on the hardware you've been using for years and you've just never noticed it. Here are 7 VR hardware features that just make no sense. Have you ever seen any of the styluses that are made for VR? Logitech's made a few, Wacom's made one, and so has Meta? I'm willing to bet some of you even have Metas and just don't know it, because they come with Quest Pro controllers. Yes, they, as in multiple. Because you can replace the wrist strap on Quest Pro controllers with stylus tips. It's almost like Meta didn't want you to know about them because the box they come in looks like it's just a little divider. It's not like they're very useful though anyways. First of all, not a ton of stuff supports them, but more importantly, you're still holding something that feels like a controller. You can't even hold them that differently than if you were just using the controllers regularly, since you would lose access to all of the buttons, which are kinda nice to have. You do get pressure sensitivity from the tip, which is pretty nice, I guess, except you can only have it when you're drawing directly on a surface? And how often are you really doing that with 3D software? Like, don't get me wrong, any VR stylus is going to be extremely niche by design, but purpose-made ones actually do their job well. Take the Logitech MX Ink for the Quest 3. It actually feels like you're holding a pen, it gives you buttons to use while you're holding it like a pen, and it lets you have pressure sensitivity while drawing mid-air. Overall, it's just a more precise tool, which, if I'm not wrong, is kinda the whole point of a stylus in the first place. Another little fun fact about Quest Pro controllers is that the capacitive thumb rest isn't just capacitive. It is a fully featured touchpad that just gets used for nothing. While the state these features in is kinda sad, at least you can just not interact with them. I can't really say that about the next thing. Being able to swap out a headset's head strap is super cool. I mean, just look at how large the market for third-party Quest straps is. I'd also argue it is extremely important for comfort, so that's why certain manufacturers have just decided to make completely irremovable head straps. Think headsets like the Quest Pro, Galaxy XR, or Pico 4. Now, some people do find those headsets comfortable, but if you don't, it's a lot harder to make changes to that comfort. Sure, you can change out the padding or add a top strap or whatever, but you can't change a hard strap to a soft strap, and you can't make a Halo headset not a Halo headset. I can give half a pass to the Quest Pro and Pico 4 since they put their batteries on the back to help with weight distribution, but the Vive XR Elite and upcoming Steam Frame also have the batteries on the back, while letting you remove the head strap anyways. I don't even know what Samsung was smoking because they just did it for the love of the game. The battery is completely external. There are no electronics in the back of the head strap. Like, you know it's bad when even Apple gives you the ability to remove the head strap. Manufacturers really need to get it together. Some people even get to the point of irreversibly altering their $1,000 plus devices, and I can't even blame them. If you like everything about the headset except the comfort, what else can you really do? Well, I suppose you could just buy a headset that gives you the most freedom possible in the first place. Stuff from Valve is usually a pretty good choice for that. The Valve Index has an expansion port called the Frunk that's hidden behind the magnetic faceplate on the front of the headset. Now don't get me wrong, having a spare USB port on a headset is amazing, but it can be literally anywhere and doesn't need an entire canyon carved out for it. The Index is a big headset, and the Frunk takes up a lot of dead space. I can imagine the headset could have been made at least a little bit thinner if it wasn't there. It sounds like it's great for mods, but in practice it really isn't used that much. The most unique use case that's ever been sold for it is a fan that has very iffy utility. A lot of DIY projects or face trackers will use the USB port, but most of the time they just end up replacing the entire front plate to provide better mounting solutions. It's a very deliberate space to include on a headset, and I almost wonder if Valve had official plans for it at some point. I can only hope that the Steam Frames expansion ports don't suffer the same fate. Even if they do, at least you can just ignore them. I can't really say that about bad input methods available on your controllers. Nowadays, we're used to a fairly standard VR controller layout. 2 buttons, a joystick, a grip, and a trigger. It's a layout that feels pretty familiar if you're already used to regular game controllers. Things could have ended up very differently though, since about a decade ago, trackpads made the most sense. Valve and HTC decided that the HTC Vive needed giant circular trackpads like on the original Steam controller. Now, trackpads on a controller are great for some things, like precision when looking around or aiming. If only VR had a different way to look around and aim precisely. Oh wait. And even the Steam controller still had a joystick on it because it just feels better for a lot of things. Thankfully, this was a one-and-done occurrence since the original Oculus Touch controllers came out, were considered a better layout, and everyone just copied them. Except that isn't what happened. A lot of Windows mixed reality controllers replaced their face buttons with trackpads. Pimax for some reason released their own version of Vive wands instead of the more standard layout they were also planning. HTC still sells Vive wands to this day. Valve almost stuck with that layout for the Index controllers. And after the original Oculus Touch was successful, Oculus for some reason decided to try out trackpads on prototype controllers for the Rift S and Quest 1. All I can say is thank God the industry moved away from that. We need more good, precise inputs. They don't even have to be on the controllers. Eye tracking is becoming more and more common on headsets. There are plenty of obvious benefits to it, but one of the less thought about ones is that it can tell you your IPD. A lot of high-end headsets even take this a step further by motorizing the IPD adjustment and setting it for you automatically. Is it bad that I don't see a point to this? Like, yeah, it is really cool, but how often are people adjusting their IPD to where they need the headset to do it for them? It adds more weight, it adds extra cost, and probably most importantly, it's just something that can break. The way the Quest Pro does it by just telling the user their IPD and having them set it themselves is more than adequate for most people. The only potential use case I can see is like an environment where a headset's being passed between a bunch of different users super frequently. Even then, most headsets' IPD motors are pretty slow, so it's probably just faster to set it yourself anyways. Auto IPD also isn't the only way manufacturers have been complicating their optics. A lot of people need to get lens inserts for their headsets so they can see clearly. But what if they didn't and the headset could just accommodate them instead? Well, this has actually been tried a few times with Diopter Adjustment. If only it was good. Typically, it's a mechanism where you just rotate the lens. It isn't super precise, which probably isn't the best thing when using the wrong prescription can cause you eye strain. It also only helps with nearsightedness, and even then, the range on it isn't super high. A lot of people end up needing to just get lens inserts anyways, which now have a harder time fitting into a headset because they have to work around the mechanism for the diopter adjustment. Additionally, it makes already complex and expensive lenses even more complex and expensive. There might be a better way one day, but that day is not today. Despite my Vive XR Elite having this feature, I do still really like the headset. I really love that the Vive XR Elite lets you just unplug the official battery and plug your own in with any old USB-C cable. If you're gonna separate the battery from the headset, this is the way to do it. Unfortunately, headsets like the Apple Vision Pro or Samsung Galaxy XR use their own proprietary solutions. Literally, why? It is just a battery. It's not like there's any compute in it. The headsets do come with their own batteries, but maybe I don't want to use it. Let me just use my own USB-C power bank, which could be way higher capacity, or just come in a better form factor. Better yet, just let me not use one if I want to. If I'm sitting down watching a movie or at my desk working, I'm not being super mobile, and I don't really need a battery that follows me around. Just let me plug into my wall. But no, I have to plug the battery into the wall, and then the battery into the headset. I think Samsung's annoys me the most. Apple's is at least proprietary on both ends. Samsung's is only proprietary on the headset side. The side that plugs into the battery is just USB-C. There is no reason I shouldn't be able to just plug that into something else. At least it would still probably fit up the person who designed its ass. And that's all I have for you. Weird hardware can be fun, but there are definitely some things that are better left only being tried once. Is there anything you think should be on this list that isn't? Or do you think I put something on it that actually does make sense? Let me know in the comments. If not, get out of here. We both know you have something you're procrastinating right now.